Hey everyone, really quick, before we get into this episode of the podcast, I wanted to quickly say thank you. I appreciate you for listening to the show. It means the world to me. And remind you, I'm doing my first ever in-person seminar tour across North America this December. Tickets are on sale now. I'll put a link somewhere right here in the description so you can go grab a ticket. We're doing 15 seminars in the US and Canada. That will be in late November and all through December. I hope to see you there. I hope you grab a ticket. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And I'll see you in a few months. Peace. Welcome back to another episode of the HigherUp podcast. I'm your host, Michael Smoke, and today we're joined by a guest. He's a board-certified physician and practicing radiologist, the former team physician for the LA Lakers and Dodgers, and currently the co-founder of CoreViva, a company specializing in the cutting edge of preemptive imaging, early cancer detection. Dr. Alan Alexander, welcome to the show, my friend.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Michael.
I'm excited. I was really hyped to be. So background for anybody listening, I was really excited. Last week I got to come in and get some imaging done. And that was where we met. We actually did an impromptu podcast on your show.
Yep.
And I said, can you come on mine? Can we quid pro quo this? So I know you got a lot going on. I appreciate you taking the time to educate me and everybody listening on your background and the importance of this preemptive imaging.
Yep.
So let's start with CoreViva itself. What is it that you guys do, and why is it important for me or someone listening to understand it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do whole body imaging. We image you from head to foot, and we're looking for cancers, hundreds of other diseases early. The whole point is early detection. We're looking for musculoskeletal issues, and we look at all these things deeply. So it's a full body scan. It's about 45 minutes long, and we're just looking at every organ, soft tissues, muscles, joints, just everything in detail to make sure that you can get ahead of things. Obviously, cancer is a big thing. Cancer is becoming more and more a younger person's disease. It used to be an old person's disease, but we're seeing a shift to younger people getting cancer. So let's find cancer early before it gets you. Actually, just to give you a statistic, if you find cancer early, in the early stages, you have a 4 to 5x increased survival rate than if you catch it late. And we found a lot of cancer so far, so early, so it's helpful for people because they can live longer, healthier lives.
What is considered early detection? Like when does the line cross of it's early and highly treatable and it's progressed?
Yeah, so stage 1 or 2 is usually early. Stage 3 or 4 is usually that's what's considered later. Stage 4, it's a metastatic disease. It's spread in places. For example, ovarian cancer. In stage 3, it's spread, but it's spread all within the abdomen. Once it crosses above the diaphragm and goes into your lungs, your brain, that's stage 4. Both are not easy to treat because obviously when it's spread, it's just tougher to treat.
So the stages are delineated by how far the disease has spread from origin,
or how large the disease is within its origin too. So you could have a stage 2 because it's bigger than a stage 1, which is smaller in the same place.
Got it. And the early imaging does everything from top of the head to the bottoms of the feet.
Yep.
Right. And that scan takes what did it take, about 45 minutes?
45 minutes.
Okay. When you go into the MRI, is this machine that you guys put me and Jack in, is it the same as a traditional MRI machine or is it different?
It's highly modified. So we've highly modified the machine. We've put in our own software, proprietary software. So to give you some background, we actually started building CoreViva in 2023. And it took us 2 years to build the software, the AI. We just built it all in-house. And then we applied that to the machine. And so it's, like I said, highly modified software. The AI that does a lot of our detection and also makes the scan faster is all things that we built. So it's a machine that you can get, but we've modified it to the CoreViva standard.
When you were at McKinsey in, I think, 2019 and 2020, you were actually involved in some papers that discussed the impact and inclusion of artificial intelligence in imaging.
Oh, you've read my papers.
Yes, I did my research. And you were talking about how important it could be and that it won't necessarily replace radiologists. But right. I think in one of the observations you had in your research paper, you noted that AI actually outperformed human intervention radiology for detection of nodules in the lungs. So that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And now AI is all anybody can talk about. Back then, it wasn't even really a topic of conversation. So I'm curious, how did you know, or what was your opinion back then to talk about AI's place in early detection imaging, and how has it paced or outpaced your predictions from that paper?
I think so. To your point, I don't think AI replaces, I think it augments. And so we look at it as an augmenter. It helps us a lot. It helps us do a spot check. It helps us. So for example, we measure visceral fat in everybody, but if I were to do that manually, that's going to take me a really, really long time. AI does it instantly for us. So we run it through the AI, it gives you your visceral fat volumes like you saw in your report and your ratio.
My visceral fat was gangster, by the way. It was great.
Very, very in shape. So I love it. You're a poster child for health, which I commend it. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And so AI helps us immensely in so many different ways. And we're actually, I'll give a sneak preview. I don't want to give away too much. We're actually building some AI things currently to predict. So we can diagnose today, but now we want to predict. And so we're doing some predictive measures in AI, which I think is really exciting, that we've developed over the last year or so. And we're about to put it out into practice. So,
wow.
So AI helps a lot because AI uses pattern recognition that we use too as radiologists, but think about all the data that the AI can capture and adequately analyze instantly. Whereas for us, sometimes we're maybe a little bit tired or whatever. We do a good job, and actually the AI we haven't really missed anything that the AI caught. So we kind of give ourselves a pat on the back because we're doing well. But it's still nice to have that backup to make sure that it's screening everything for us as well. So
absolutely, it's an extra set of eyes.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who are concerned about the augmentation of artificial intelligence? Because obviously we have doomsdayers, we have anti-AIers in general, or people that just don't understand it. So how would you ease the minds of someone saying, wait, you want to use AI to augment and look at my body? I don't know about that.
Well, that's why it's an augmenter, right? That's why you still have a physician involved. So I would never advocate for an AI to completely analyze you and that's it. And then you don't get to talk to a physician. I think that's the important element. Also, as a physician, I can understand things because of just experience and seeing patients that the AI may say something, you may say something, but then I know what that means where the AI may not. And so taking it to the next level, taking that problem solving to an additional step, I don't think the AI is there yet, and I don't think it's going to be there anytime soon. I think the AI can look and tell, but it can't really give you a bigger picture of what's going on at this point. Maybe in the future, and I think it will get there, but not at this point. Also, people want that human element. I think I enjoy talking to patients. I think you enjoyed I think most people enjoy the interaction with the doctor and get to ask questions live.
Definitely.
You don't want to ask a robot question. It's just not the same. So I think people will want that human element forever. I don't think that's ever going to change.
Yeah, that makes sense. When the experience with MRI is taking place, when I got to Corviva, for those who don't know, I did this with my friend Jack Nassif. We came to the facility, got changed into the Corviva clothes, and then we got into the machine. And I've done MRIs on my shoulder, my appendix at one point, and it was a different experience. So a bit more secure feeling, I guess, in the way that the straps gently lay over the body. There's sort of a dome effect that takes place over the face. Can you explain to me what's happening when I'm having the weight placed on my chest and the mask over my face? What is the significance of those things, and what's happening inside of the MRI machine when you're doing the imaging for about an hour?
Yeah, so the kind of blanket that went over your chest, and then I don't want to scare people. It's not a mask that you actually put on your face, but it goes above your face. Those are called coils, and the coils basically so an MRI is a magnet, and the magnet is, when you turn on the magnet, based on the sequences that you pick, I'm trying to say this in a way that's very easy to understand. So the way that you program the MRI machine, it can tell you there's basically water signal and fat signal. And what it is magnets that stimulate the protons in your body to basically activate or deactivate based on the time that you stimulate, and it actually gives you the images of your organs in different sequences. So either in a fat plane or in a water plane, or water emphasis, fat emphasis. Those are kind of the easy, and there's in-betweens, but I'm just trying to make it simple. So when those magnets are activated, we're able to create those images in your body and look at everything. The coils that you're putting on your body actually allow us to get more precise with that activation, so we can look at the images in better detail. So for example, our MRIs, the way Corviva set up their sequences is we have probably the best signal to noise ratio that I've ever seen. Again, we worked 2 years on this to make it perfect. So that's why our images are so crisp. And even academic medical centers have told us that they're shocked how good our images look, because we've spent a lot of time, and again, the coils help with that, to just really get crisp images. Okay,
so those are the coils. And the actual time span, I've always been curious about this. Why does it take such a long time? And
typically, or
right there, like in Corviva, we had delay for 45-ish minutes.
Yeah.
It was nice. I sat and watched Netflix while you guys did the scan. But is it because multiple images are being taken and it just takes a moment?
Yep.
What's the time there?
Yeah. So rewind like 5 years ago. If you were to do this scan, probably 3 hours at least.
Wow.
It does, because you're going slice by slice. So each picture is kind of one slice through your body, then it moves a couple millimeters. One slice through your body, it moves. In the brain, we do 1 millimeter slices. So just think about it: slice, 1 millimeter, slice, 1 millimeter, slice, 1 millimeter. So it takes a while to.
So it would be like if I'm looking over top at my body, it would be like a piece of a cake cut into pieces,
exactly.
and then you compile the pieces to make the image of my organs, my brain.
And not only this way, but also this way, and also this way. So we're looking at all three planes.
So how many images is that roughly in total for a human body?
Most humans, about at least 5,000 images. Wow. Yeah. So when we're looking through your scan, we're looking at over 5,000 images.
And when you go into the assessment portion with a patient, do you typically go to something first as a part of your process? Are you looking for a 28-year-old guy? Are you looking at my colon, my liver, my lungs? Is there a focal area you see for someone like me?
I look at everything. I just look at everybody the same from head to toe. I have a certain search pattern that I use, and I just look from head to toe. If the nice thing about CoreViva, which is very unique, is that we also do precision scanning. So for example, let's say you said, I have some extra pain in your hip, my hip, or my ankle. I think Jack actually said something, I can't remember what it was, but if there's or I have a question about my liver or whatever it is, we'll actually take additional sequences of that part for you. It's not an extra charge. That's just, we don't want you leaving without answers. And so if you have a question about X, we'll take extra images of that X. Now with that, when I get to that portion, then I'll look at those extra images as well.
Got it.
But typically it's just my head to toe search pattern.
And I want to circle back to something you said earlier. Cancer used to be an old person's disease. Yeah. Now it's becoming a younger person's disease. Yeah. I know specifically colorectal cancer is on the rise in young people at unfathomable figures.
Yes.
What do you have any theories? Is there any data on why this is becoming a young person's disease?
Data, and interestingly in the U.S., so I don't see this in other countries. I don't have data, but I do think it's what we eat. I think there's a lot of the stuff that's in our foods today wasn't in our foods 20, 30 years ago. And so I think we eat a lot of processed foods. I think there's a lot of unhealthy preservatives in these foods, a lot of fake sugars that aren't good for you. So I think all these in combination that are just in our diets, I think that's caused issues with our colon. It's interesting because I used to be lactose intolerant for somehow I'm not anymore, but only in the United States. So I would get really bad bloating if I ate ice cream or milk or whatever it may be in the United States. Overseas, and I'm talking about every continent, Europe, Asia, South America, never ever felt any bloating with any milk. I could eat whole milk, I could drink whole milk, I could eat ice cream, no problems whatsoever. So what is it that we're doing with, what's going on here that in the processing that's causing these problems? I don't know. But even bread, for example, a lot of people say, I'm bloating, I might have a gluten issue, but you don't have those issues when you eat the bread overseas. So there's something just with the processing and the manufacturing of our foods here that I think is unhealthy.
Do you think processing and manufacturing of our foods, independent of caloric intake, lean tissue, metabolic health, is still potentially negatively impactful?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look at just talk about famous people that got colon cancer because everybody knows them. Cedric Boseman, the Black Panther that died early of colon cancer. He was a very fit guy and he was very healthy. James Van Der Beek, who unfortunately died recently from colon cancer, same thing. He was a healthy guy. He was a healthy, lean guy. So I think it's independent. I think you're right.
What do you think the mechanisms are that drive that in the human body? Like we have a processed sugar or preservative. Is it driving up just systemic inflammation? What's the mechanism occurring there?
Good question. I think partially that. I think also partially any kind of DNA damage that you do, usually your body repairs. But if you do too much of it, then it can have a deleterious effect and cause downstream cancer because now you have a cell that's programmed to do X and you've ruined that and it doesn't stop, right? It doesn't. Most cells have an actual timing or senescence to die off. Cancer doesn't. And so something has happened with that cell where now it's not dying off, it's replicating, and that's cancer. And so I think there's something in these chemicals or preservatives that are actually causing that.
And the process of cellular die-off turnover, otherwise known as autophagy, correct?
Yep.
What drives that process? Because you were a part of some interesting data sets over 20 years ago around discovering caloric restriction and its impacts positively on longevity. So what drives autophagy?
What drives autophagy? It's not a one answer. There's a lot of systems in your body that keep it in check. There's cell regulation. There's hormonal. It's not just it's not an easy answer to say this drives autophagy.
Right.
It's actually your whole system at play. In a normal human, your whole system's just constantly creating autophagy, and you can actually increase autophagy by fasting. But not there's. I think we can talk about fasting for a second. So.
We're going to go there for sure. So let's just do it now.
Just do it. Right. So, like you said, 27 years, well, time flies. 27 years ago, I'm younger than I look. So 27 years ago, I was at the NIH and at the National Institutes of Aging, and we were doing some studies, and we proved that in monkeys, rhesus monkeys, caloric restriction increases longevity. We also proved it in a rat model as well. What's interesting about, and there were some pathways that we found that were responsible, but the more important thing is, I think then that led to intermittent fasting. That same group years later, more recently published data in the New England Journal of Medicine showing that intermittent fasting has the same benefits. What most people get wrong, and this is something I want to tell your folks that follow you, what most people get wrong about intermittent fasting is it's not that you're shortening the time interval of eating, but eating the same amount of calories. That's not the point. The point is that you're actually cutting out a meal. So for example, if you're intermittent fasting, let's say, I'm going to make up something you're only going to eat from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And so you're fasting from 6 p.m. to the next day, 12 p.m. Your goal is not to eat the same amount of calories in that 12 to 6. Your goal is, the reason you're doing that is because you're cutting out breakfast. And so that's where most people get wrong about intermittent fasting is they're cramming those, let's call it 2,000, 3,000 calories. They're cramming that into the same time frame. That's not doing you any good. The whole point is to eat less. So something I practice is, and unfortunately my mentor passed away during the pandemic, but he was starting to look at, and we were collaborating on this, caloric cycling. And so caloric cycling is eating a decent amount one day, or the same amount of calories, 2,000, 3,000 calories, and then eating less the next day. And what I do naturally is days that I have a hard workout, I eat a lot because I'm hungry. Days that I don't have a hard workout, I don't eat as much because I'm not hungry. I basically eat when I'm hungry, and I don't eat when I'm not hungry. And so the kind of breakfast, lunch, dinner, there was a study that I think it was the American Cancer Society published that showed that actually and this is kind of contradictory to the intermittent fasting, and I think it's because most people cram their food in that intermittent fasting cycle. If you eat the same amount of calories in a short amount of time versus spreading it out over time actually decreases your cancer risk. So I thought that was interesting. So I think it gets back to the caloric restriction increases longevity, and I think that's because of the decreased inflammatory processes. As you're eating food, you need the energy, you need food, but you're also increasing inflammation each time you eat food.
Right. A lot of people, intermittent fasting is all the buzz, and this is great. This is such a foundation of my content, what I talk about. A big part, especially early in my career, was talking about fasting because I haven't eaten breakfast in 9 years. But it's important to understand, based on what you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, intermittent fasting, independent of caloric restriction, is not a magic pill. If you enter a caloric surplus in your 4-hour window, you are effectively negating the benefits of time-restricted feeding, correct? Exactly. Okay, there's a lot of work I've done a lot of research on Dr. Sachin Panda's work around time-restricted feeding. It's fascinating stuff. But if I'm training at, let's say, 9 a.m., break my fast at noon, and eat my last meal at 6, based on what you're saying, I should be in a caloric deficit. I should not worry as much around post-workout training, post-workout protein, because if I get it all within that window, I'll more or less be okay. Is that correct?
Yeah, although, so now we're getting into another angle, right? Because I think it's important to feed your body right after you work out, because that's when your muscles are the most hungry, and that's when you're going to absorb the most protein. Otherwise, you're just going to poop it out. Right. So I think there is a balance. Again, for myself, I usually work out in the morning. So I used to kind of fast in the mornings, but days that I don't work out in the mornings, I actually don't eat breakfast. So days that I work out in the mornings, I'm hungry, and so I eat breakfast right afterwards. And I have a pretty big breakfast because I'm hungry. And then, I kind of taper down based on just how I feel. But I'm definitely sure that the days that I work out, I eat a lot more than days I don't work out. So I think that cycling is really the key. But if you take all that cycling and aggregate it, there is probably a little bit of a caloric deficit in the outcome.
Are you tracking your caloric intake when you're inside of this window, or just focusing on whole foods?
Focusing on whole foods, clean eating. I don't track. I know it's helpful for some people to do it. I did way back when, but it's a lot of work to track. And so I just kind of, once you kind of know your body, I just kind of know, that's our slogan, know your body. I kind of know what I need and what I don't need. And again, if, sometimes my mom's visiting and she says, hey, you got to eat dinner. And I said, look, I'm not hungry. If I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. There's this whole breakfast, lunch, dinner is something that's just made up, right? If you think back in caveman times, there was no breakfast, lunch, dinners. You hunt your food, you get it, you eat. You don't have the food, you don't eat. So I don't think there's a need. Yes, it's nice to have those times to do that, but I just kind of eat when I'm hungry. So
you're not following any specific time windows necessarily?
I do. So one rule that I follow is I don't eat 3 hours before I go to bed.
Why is that?
You can't get good sleep if you do that. Your body. So your body, when it's at rest, is either rest and digest is your parasympathetic system. And if you're either resting or digesting, it's hard to do both. So you can't get good rest if you have a full stomach. So I try to eat 3 hours before sleep, so my stomach is empty by the time I sleep. It also helps with that autophagy, like you were mentioning, because it gives me I usually eat dinner at 5, so I eat pretty early. So from 5 p.m. till, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8, I think that's a pretty nice window of about 14 hours of no food. It gives me the rest and also gives my body enough time to recuperate.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the blood flow that gets pulled to the stomach, right, too, can impact your ability to sleep deeply.
Exactly.
Because your body's actively burning energy to try to digest food.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've noticed that not only anecdotally, obviously there's data to support that, but I feel better if I go to bed not full. Even my wearables, like I wear a Whoop, and my recovery is better if I give myself a couple of hours between dinner and the bedtime. I also think it's important to delineate people. There's a common myth: if I eat after 7 p.m., I'll get fat. If you're in a caloric deficit, that's not going to happen.
That's true.
However, the bit of truth in every myth, like this one is no exception, is if you eat late, you will sleep more poorly, most likely.
Yes.
Poor sleep can lead to bad appetite choices the following day. Ghrelin and leptin get all dysregulated. So all in all, you're not going to get fat if you have a late night dinner one night, but you will sleep more deeply if you give yourself that time.
100%. And sleep is so critical for everything. Recuperation, cancer prevention, the brain. I mean, sleep is just so critical. And I think a lot of people don't get the sleep that they need. And don't get the quality sleep that they need.
What's driving that? Screens, stress, lifestyle?
Yeah, I think screens is probably a big one. I have a 3-2-1 rule for sleep. I think I shared with you before, but did I?
I don't think so.
Okay. So 3 hours before sleep, no food. 2 hours before sleep, no fluids. 1 hour before sleep, no screen time. And that will help you get optimal sleep. The screen time, what happens is you have a pineal gland in your brain that secretes melatonin when things start getting dark and it's time to wind down for sleep. When you're looking at a screen, whether it's TV or your phone or a tablet, whatever, computer, you're suppressing that melatonin secretion. So you can't get into that restful sleep stage. And you might be tired and exhausted. And I've heard some people argue that, but I put the laptop down or I put my phone down and I fall right asleep. Okay, but you're not getting restful sleep. You're not getting to that deep, because what happens in sleep is you're first getting into deep sleep, which is restorative. And then you're getting into the REM cycles, which is for cognition and memories. And so you need to hit both when you're sleeping. And the problem is when you're stimulating yourself and you're not getting the melatonin secretion, you're probably not going to get that deep sleep that you need for restorative. You might just go right into REM sleep. So
yeah, there was a paper that a podcast cited once that I don't remember where I saw it. I can't give the source, but I think it was estimated that an hour of screen time before bed can delay melatonin release by up to 3 hours.
Yeah, it's significant.
That's the difference between me getting my melatonin hit at 9 and midnight and then waking up at 7 feeling groggy because my melatonin was shot out way too late.
Right.
And then the whole hormone cycle's fucked up, cortisol release, all of it.
And for your viewers, the answer is not taking a melatonin supplement. That does not work. That's not how it works. It has to be natural, because I'm glad people that wear the trackables, you could probably see that. Take a melatonin pill versus actually do it naturally, your sleep cycle is going to be much more healthy and better and restorative when you do it the right way.
You mentioned REM sleep.
Yeah.
I have a conspiracy theory that even people who aren't in a sleep deficit are in a REM sleep deficit. Because I know people who are consuming caffeine at 6, 7 p.m. and they go, I can sleep fine.
Oh, wow.
I pass right out. People that will message me often and talk about, I have a magnesium supplement line, magnesium glycinate and magnesium threonate. And people will DM me, but magnesium gave me insane dreams. I hated it. And then there's this other through line of people who were smoking marijuana, stop, and get insane dreams. And I've heard people say that that's because these things can suppress REM, and your body is potentially catching up on REM, leading to really vivid dream sleep. Is there truth to that?
It's a good question. I don't know this topic deeply, but I will say this: days that if I break my rules or I'm super tired, I hit REM almost immediately, because I'll wake up later. I was, oh wow, I had a dream like within 5 minutes of sleeping. That's disruptive. I just know it's not as restful. I just know it's not. I'm so in tune with my body that I know when something's not. I'll wake up and I'll tell you I had a great night of sleep, or I didn't. And I can tell you. I just feel it right away. And I think going into that kind of REM relapse where you have REM right away where you're supposed to have REM later. I think that's probably what's happening. So yes, I think you're right. There is still a sleep deficit, especially if they're having REM really early. That means they're not getting to the deep, stage 4 sleep early, which is what they're supposed to do.
And things like screen time, eating too late, chronic stress can all impact the ability to get REM sleep that we have.
Yeah. Stress is a good point too. I try to go to bed. if there's anything I need to argue about or have a discussion about, or about whoever, whether it's my wife or work colleague, whatever, I don't do it at night. You want to go to bed because you want to go to bed with a clear because you're not gonna be able to sleep. You're just thinking about that. You're angry. Just go to bed stress free.
Don't check your work email right before bed. No. Don't check it right when you wake up.
Or your text, nothing. Just 1 hour. I just, all the digital goes dark 1 hour before I go to sleep. I just don't want to deal with it.
That's smart. I made that mistake last night. I got an email that I wasn't stoked about and went to bed kind of worried about it.
Oh, yes. I had an issue last night too with something at work. But yeah, and I was like, and I said, look, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Turned it off and I said, okay, now I got to wait an hour to like cool down. I went to bed later than I wanted to, but it's fine.
What are your protocols, your processes and procedures for maintaining a healthy lifestyle? You alluded to earlier, I'm older or younger than I look, but I would have guessed you were like in your 30s. How old are you?
I don't say that on camera, but I'm a lot older than 30, so I appreciate that's very kind of you. I think it's a couple. So I have 4 rules of longevity, my 4 pillars of longevity. Okay, pillar number 1, get preventative screening, because no matter how healthy you are, if you look at some of these folks that just suddenly you find out they have cancer or something like that, they didn't do anything wrong. Cancer doesn't discriminate. Yes, if you smoke a lot, you're going to be high risk for lung cancer, for example, but you could live the perfect life but still get disease. Brian Johnson, for example, he recently announced that he has autoimmune gastritis. He's trying to do everything right, but still, has disease. So I think preventative screening is key. And I get a scan every year. I pay for my mom and my wife to get a scan every year because you just don't know when something's going to catch up to you. I'd rather catch it early, be done with it, than catch it late. So, for example, we've caught, I think 41 cancers since we opened, and we're only 10 months old. 41 cancers, 36 of those were early stage. So those folks are going to be fine. You cut it out, you're done, live a long, healthy life. That's great. The 5 that we caught that were late stage, all 5 of those patients had symptoms. They felt something. They knew something was wrong, and they came in for various reasons, but they knew something was wrong. The key is don't wait till you feel something is wrong, because then it's probably advanced and it might be too late to treat. Come in, get looked at before you feel anything. Catch it as early as you can so you have the best chance of living. So I think preventative screening is my first pillar of longevity. And that's part of the reason we created Core Viva. The second pillar of longevity is eat clean. So you were talking about whole foods. Eat clean, low saturated fats, fruits, vegetables, clean proteins, fish. I love fish, poultry, but not wings with the skin on it that has a lot of saturated fat. Just kind of live a healthy, clean lifestyle. Third pillar of longevity is exercise. So cardiovascular and strength training. I think those are both very, very important to live a long, healthy life. And the fourth and last pillar of longevity is sleep. Get good sleep. The 3-2-1 rule, follow that. And sleep is just such a critical component of all this. There's people, I can do well on 6 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep. The percentage of people that can perform optimally with less than 7 to 8 hours of sleep, rounded up to the nearest percentage, is 0. You can't do it. It's impossible. I don't care who you say you are, you cannot do it. You need at least 7 or 8 hours sleep to perform optimally. So that's really critical.
That's so crazy you just said that, because if you didn't, I was going to say that exact statistic that I learned from Dr. Matthew Walker.
I don't know who that
in his
is.
book, Why We Sleep. He was on Joe Rogan.
Okay.
And I was like, I hope he goes into the sleep, the compromised people with 6 hours of sleep. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, man.
It's so critical.
It is, but it often is, and I'm guilty of this sometimes. It is often the first pillar of health that people compromise on when life gets busy.
Yeah.
People will train on 4 hours of sleep. They'll get their steps in. They'll even eat well. But if they got stuff to do at night, they got work gets busy, they get kids, they'll always be willing to sacrifice sleep first.
Yeah.
And it's because it feels like the easiest. And I think,
that's true.
I think it's the least immediate consequence feeling of the pillars.
Yep.
If I don't work out for 2 weeks, I feel like shit.
Right.
If I don't move around, if I eat bad, I feel that. But I can skate by on bad sleep for a while.
Yeah.
And so we as humans don't perform well on perceived positive outcome. We need like immediate negative consequence, which makes sleep easy to negotiate on.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually good. That's really good. That's why I said you're older beyond your years, because that was a very thoughtful insight how you described it. I think that's exactly right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What is your actual nutrition, your approach to nutrition? You said something when we were going through my scan.
Yeah.
You quickly glossed over, you said, I don't have carbohydrates later in the day.
Yeah, no carbs after 3.
So what is your actual...
Except for vegetables. I do eat vegetables, but...
Like cruciferous vegetables, fibrous vegetables, nothing
broccoli,
carbohydrate dense.
Yeah. What would you consider carbohydrate dense?
Starches, rice, potatoes,
Sweet
fruits.
potatoes I'll do sometimes.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't eat fruits at night because of the fructose. again, your body is not using those carbs at night. So what's going to happen? It's going to accumulate into fat, and you get high visceral fat. High visceral fat's linked to heart disease, liver disease, pancreatic disease, and cancer. If everybody and this is why we're the only provider that looks deeply at the visceral fat for everybody. And the reason we do that is because it just has such a high correlation with the liver disease, the pancreatic disease, the heart attacks, the strokes, but also cancer. If everybody in the United States had normal visceral fat, 10% of cancers would go away. So it's a critical component that we need to...
Can you say that again?
If everybody in the United States had normal visceral fat, 10% of the cancers would go away. So high visceral fat is attributable to cancer.
And what is visceral fat?
Visceral fat is a fat that's around your organs. So viscera means organs. And so you have the subcutaneous fat under your skin that most people can see. And then you have the hidden fat, the visceral fat. And we've had folks that are lean that have come in. Some professional athletes have come in that are lean, but they have high visceral fat because of their diets or whatever they may be doing. And so visceral fat is a key component to keep regulated. And that's why you have to look at it to know if you have high visceral fat or not, because sometimes you can't tell. And if you have high visceral fat, you really got to get going to get rid of it because of all the risk factors that are involved with it.
Yeah, you mentioned you had a high-level athlete come in who was lean and strong and muscular, played basketball at the highest level, and had the visceral fat of someone metabolically sick.
Yes.
Basically. So is it...
Because of his diet.
Because of his diet.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say then that if I'm in a caloric maintenance period or caloric deficit even, and my diet is still one of high sugar, high processed sugar, maybe even the combination of fat and sugar, which creates hyperpalatability and can drive inflammation, that I could still increase my visceral fat
100%.
even in the absence of a surplus of energy?
100%.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah. That's why we have to be careful what we eat.
Because we've got the If It Fits Your Macros crew in the fitness community that's like, yeah, you can have the cookies and the Oreos so long as you're in that 500 calorie deficit.
First of all, whoever says this, Oreos have high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup has been proven to cause pancreatic cancer in a petri dish. Don't get that stuff near me, right?
Holy shit, really?
Yeah. High fructose corn syrup is like the worst. That's why they started taking it off shelves. If you start looking, all sodas used to have high fructose corn syrup. They're starting to move away from that. But they should just ban that. It is banned actually, and I think in Europe they don't even use it. Yeah, so there's a lot of toxic stuff in these cookies and snacks and things like that, which, you make your own stuff. Make your own stuff at home. It's not expensive. You can make it as natural as you want. I make my own kind of granola. I make my own little protein balls with peanut butter. It's easy.
Yeah, when you're getting a hankering for something sweet, what are you going for? Because people always ask me, what about my sugar?
Protein
what about
shake.
my sweet tooth?
Protein shake.
It's a terrible answer, doctor. We need to read
It's true. If I want, there's sometimes I'll eat dinner. I say, something's missing. Whether I'm still hungry or I want something more sweet. Protein shake.
Protein shake.
Yeah. Because I put peanut butter in it. That kind of makes it. It's unsweetened peanut butter, but peanut butter still has a little bit of a sweetness to it.
More like a shake density than normal. Do you have a brand that you like
of protein?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say because I'm trying to get them to sponsor a podcast. So until they do, I'm not going to say.
Do you have a favorite flavor?
Unflavored.
So how do you make it sweet?
So cacao, I add cacao to it. If it's in the morning, because no carbs after 3, I put banana in it, and then the peanut butter.
Got it.
It gives it this sweetness. I don't know. It's maybe it's not the same sweet as somebody else is used to, but to me it tastes sweet.
Well, this is also important to understand. When I go through periods of this, I've been living on the road for 6 months, so I was eating out a lot more. It is very real that when you embark on a journey of eating mostly unprocessed, minimally processed, all food is processed, minimally processed whole natural foods, after a little while, my taste buds reset.
That's true.
I have a much higher sensitivity to sweetness. I remember coming off of a caloric deficit, marathon prep, I was getting leaner and lighter and my diet was super dialed. I went and I got a milkshake from McDonald's and I did a live reaction for content of me tasting it. And the first thing out of my mouth was, oh, this is drugs. If it was so good, it was unnatural.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that. Recently, I was at this charity event, and it was for a great cause for kids, actually homeless kids in San Diego. And they had some chocolates there, and I never touched that stuff. My wife's like, "Oh, this is great chocolate. You should try it." So I try it. I said, "Whoa, it was too sweet." But most people thought, "Oh, it's normal." I think you're exactly right. Your taste buds habituate to what you're used to. It was so sweet. I said, "I can't have another bite. This is weird." And so I think you're exactly right.
It feels man-made almost. And I want to encourage people also who are in the 50-50 whole processed foods, or maybe they're just addicted to processed foods. If you can stick to a diet of things that grew in the ground, grew on a tree, or had a mom and dad for a little while, that whole natural food list, then there is a recalibration effect, and you begin to not enjoy not only how they taste, but I just feel like shit after I have something like that, man. It's brutal.
Same. It's interesting because if you sometimes, I'm guilty of this, and we're all human. Once in a while, we're somewhere and I have a dessert, and it tastes so good at the time, but you start regretting it afterward. I start feeling like, oh, this doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel well, and I feel gross. And because if you eat clean for a long time, you'll feel gross when you do those things, because, like you said, your body habituates to cleanliness, and your body's saying, "What is this crap that you just gave me?"
It's like I can feel my pancreas working overtime.
I can feel a visceral fat starting to accumulate.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you made an interesting point about the fruit and fructose before bed. I have a friend, Eric Hinman, shredded, sub 10% body fat, probably year round, 9 to 10%, endurance athlete, so big aerobic efforts. And he was getting into, before bed, he'd have something sweet. It was like yogurt with a bit of maple syrup.
Okay.
And then he said he got to the point where he was just having like maple syrup shots before bed because he wanted the sweetness, but it was at 9 o'clock at night. And he went and got his blood work done, and he was pre-diabetic.
Wow, yeah, there you
like
go.
His numbers were showing pre-diabetes.
Yeah.
And this is in someone with the conventional argument to be made about health and fitness is that, and this is true, if you have a high degree of lean mass, muscle mass, you are more insulin sensitive, you're more metabolically healthy, so your body can shuttle glucose out of your blood and into your liver and muscles more readily. But there's also a case to be made that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you have guys like that high-level athlete who had the visceral fat of someone metabolically sick, or my friend Eric, who was pre-diabetic in his blood work and his fasting blood glucose, but on paper, the dude's shredded.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to always focus on the big rocks: sleep, real food, training, recovery. But there is absolutely real weight assigned to things like, hey, maybe don't have 100 grams of carbohydrates and then go to sleep.
Yep.
Because even if you're in a deficit, the longevity effects of that might be negative.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea to do that right before sleep. It's a terrible idea.
I want to circle back to what I asked you about your actual approach to nutrition. What does a day of eating for Dr. Alexander look like?
It depends.
On a training day.
Probably something dense for breakfast. Usually on training days, I'll have oatmeal with protein in it, and then fruit. Fruit on the oatmeal, and then
post training, pre training.
Pre-training. I always train fasting, because when you train fasting, you're burning fat. I don't want to put anything in my body that's going to be burned, because then you're not burning fat. And as you get older, you'll see, as you get older, it's easier to accumulate fat no matter how hard you try. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best fighting chance. So I always train fasting. So something dense like oatmeal with fruits and protein and nuts on it. That's kind of what I do for breakfast. Probably a couple hours later, I'll have a protein shake because I'll still be hungry. Lunch, I usually eat some kind of fish, maybe sushi or something like that. But usually I eat some kind of clean, or salad. Just depends. I don't have like I always eat this. It just depends on what I'm looking for. But again, clean. What did you say? It comes from
grows in the ground, grows on a tree, had a mom and dad.
I love that. So yes, I do. That's what I try to aim for lunches. And then dinner, usually it's some kind of protein. Usually it's fish or chicken. I do love steak. I love steak, but I only try to have it only once a month. That's kind of why.
Once a month,
yeah.
What's the
saturated fat
decision behind that? Yeah, can we talk a bit about that?
Sure.
Because the jury's out on that in some conversations, especially in my world. You've got people who claim saturated fat is critical as a precursor to sex hormones, that HDL and LDL are not what we thought. I'm not a fucking doctor. I don't try to speak on it. I will say personally,
bro science.
Yes, that's true. I will say personally, I don't monitor my saturated fat. Yeah. The way I eat normally, it just doesn't. I eat a lot of ground beef, but it's like 93.7 and leaner.
Yeah.
I also make sure to get a ton of fiber. I have
that's good too.
20 to 40 grams a day minimum, because there seems to be some data between saturated fat and fiber intake, reducing risk of coronary events and arterial plaque buildup. So I love a ribeye. I love whole eggs. I love butter.
Oh wow!
What is the dangers or the mechanisms behind eating those things that I should be limiting? Like once a month sounds crazy to me.
And I only eat like filet or sirloin. I don't touch ribeye. I don't touch butter. I don't touch cheese because of saturated fats. So saturated fats is the easiest accumulator for visceral fat. It comes back to visceral fat. I mean, and this is actually something that we discovered at Core Vivo. Scanning over 1,000 patients, we started noticing trends of, wow, visceral fat is high in a lot of people, and these people are having issues, especially as they get older, and there's cancer linked to them. And, so it's a wake-up call for me. I said, oh, wow, I didn't realize. So then I started researching, okay, how do I make sure that I keep my visceral fat in check? And so that's decrease your saturated fats like fatty steaks, even fatty chickens, like the skin on the chicken.
Just animal fat in general.
Yeah. Butters, cheeses, just get rid of those. But also one thing that you can do to reduce visceral fat is cardiometabolic or cardiovascular exercise, especially high intensity training. And so that helps burn visceral fat. So doing those in combination, I think, again, just gives us the best fighting chance. And that's why I don't touch it. Yeah. Once I realized my wife loves steak, but I had to say, look, we got to reduce the amount of times that we eat this in a month. I love it, but it's not great. And people are saying, oh, saturated fat. No, nonsense. Cholesterol. You know what it's really good for? You said, what's really good for? Saturated fat and high cholesterol? Heart attacks and strokes. That's what's really good for.
Do you think there's any? I've heard an argument made, and this might not be in your field, so feel free to say I don't know.
Sure.
But I would love if you have information on this. I've heard an argument posed that saturated fat in combination with high sugar can be a driver for visceral fat buildup and inflammation. The combination of, people will say, well, they ate a lot of red meat and they had a heart attack or they have coronary artery disease. And then the argument would be, well, they're eating a McDonald's cheeseburger with a Coke. So they're having red meat, saturated fat paired with white bread and a high sugar drink.
That's worse.
Right.
But independently, they're both still bad.
Okay.
Because sugar is also a huge accumulator of fat, of visceral fat.
Right.
High sugar intake equals high visceral fat. So all of these are independent risk factors. And if you combine them, it's even worse risk factors. I don't know if you remember Atkins diet.
The Atkins diet. He died.
He died of a heart attack. If you need more proof than that, oh yeah, eat all the fat and this, and you die of a heart attack. Okay, thanks.
Terribly unfortunate.
Great case study though, right?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for proving that this is a nonsense diet. And
totally.
We need to get back to the basics. So.
They still sell Atkins supplements in the grocery stores, by the way.
Those are the people that didn't realize that he passed away from a heart attack.
Exactly. So, walk me through the imaging process if I am interested in coming to CoreViva. So you guys are based where?
Newport Beach, California.
Newport Beach, California. Any plans to open up a different location?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Across California?
Stay tuned. We want to be everywhere because we want to meet people where they are. And it's really fascinating, Michael, that there's been people that have visited us from all over the world. I don't know if you saw the map when you were, people have come in from China, Dubai, Saudi Arabia.
Jack got to pin the Ohio.
Oh, nice.
Because there's no one from Ohio yet.
But yeah, these are people flying in Sweden, Switzerland, UK. People have come from all over the place. Israel, South Africa. And these are people that live there and have flown in because they've heard about us somehow and want to get a scan. And then across the United States, New York, Maine, Florida, Nebraska, Texas. Those are ones that come to mind. Canada, there's been some people from Canada. So people have come from all over to us, which is great. But I do want to make it easier for people to meet them where they are because not everybody has the means to be able to travel. So yeah, we do intend to be everywhere if we can.
And speaking of the means, what does this cost financially if someone wants to come in and get a scan with you guys?
$26.99. If they know you, they can get a couple $100 off. So
I'll put that link in the description.
But we have payment plans for folks and people have used those payment plans for folks that we want to try to make it as accessible as possible. Unfortunately, MRIs are extremely expensive, and even outfitting that room for the MRI costs about $500,000 just to outfit the room, and the MRI is over $1 million. So just think about how much it costs just to put a clinic together. So we have to pay the bill somehow, and so we try to figure out what is the lowest price we can charge, but still be able to have a business so we can help people. And that was $26.99 as well.
You guys are only charging $2,700 for someone to come in and have that experience that I had.
Yeah.
Does that include the
consultation,
post-scan consultation that you did with me?
Yeah, and that's very unique. We're the only people that we're probably the only radiologist that you'll meet right after. Nobody else does this, even at regular imaging centers. We wanted to meet with the patient right after because we had a philosophy when we built CoreViva: treat every patient like your mother. And so we thought, okay, what would our mothers want? They want to get a scan in a very calm atmosphere, spa-like experience with the best technicians. So we interviewed 80 technicians before we found the two that we thought we were comfortable putting our own mothers in front of. And when my mom got a scan, I asked her, I said, what'd you think about the technicians? Oh, I loved them. I said, thank God, Mom, because we interviewed 80 people. If you say you didn't like them, I had to start at square zero. But so we wanted to make this an optimal experience for every patient. And then what would I want for my mom? I would want immediate results. I would want her to have all her questions answered. And I want her to have an interface with the physician that's interpreting her study. And so that's why we meet with you right away to give you immediate results, have all your questions answered. We don't want anybody leaving without any clarity. And then once you're done with that, we double read everything, and then we send it through our AI for just a spot check. So, and then our AI gives you that Core Viva score, which is your brain age, your musculoskeletal age, your visceral fat score, and then your muscle bulk score.
Yeah, my brain age, and I don't remember what my muscle age was. My brain age was 28. I am 28. Is that good? Should I strive for lower?
That's good.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to get the brain of a 19-year-old next time you see me.
But that would mean you're immature.
Yeah, you're right. It means I would have a lot of work to do. I have been to a lot of therapy in the last 2 years, so maybe that's what made my brain older. The process I want to reiterate, because you went over it at a high level, but I want to reiterate it was a boutique spa-like experience. You have these lovely quiet waiting rooms. You have a lounge with coffee and snacks. You can't eat before the scan, but you can have coffee and water. And there's a comfy chair. I sat in the back, charged my phone in a private room with a lock. You guys just knocked, asked if I was ready. And the tech you did a great job with. He was awesome. He was also into the TV show that I was watching, so we had banter about that. And he'll talk to you periodically throughout, like, hey man, we're halfway there. Almost done, you're doing great. And overall, with the exception of just, my butt falling asleep or it being a bit uncomfortable to lie still for 45 minutes, it truly felt like a white glove experience.
That's good to hear.
The young ladies that you have working at the office are incredible and professional and smart, and everyone appears to just be bought in to the importance of this. And when it comes to preemptive scanning, this is still a fairly new thing across the board, correct?
Yeah,
preemptive MRI imaging,
because
I feel like if memory serves me, I couldn't just go get an MRI unless I said, hey, this hurts, or
correct.
I'm having symptoms that indicate it's time for a scan, right?
Correct.
So now I can just come in off the street and go, I want this. Here's $2,699.
Yep.
What has you wanting to be in this field of preemptive scanning?
Yeah. So and you said, everybody seems like they're bought in because we have a mission, and my personal mission is to save 10,000 lives. This was kind of my last thing I want to do. That's big. We have a mission to save 10,000 lives, and everybody in our team is bought into that mission. We don't hire people that are not interested in doing that. And we haven't kept people that are not interested in that mission. We're really mission driven, and we really want to do this the right way. And so if you look at the United States Preventative Task Force of what they recommend for screening, it's colonoscopy at age 45. Well, Cedric Bozeman and others died before age 45 of colon cancer. So I think that's wrong. I think it should be revised. Every 10 years, I think it should also be revised just based on what we're seeing. But that's their recommendation for colon cancer. USPTF is always a bit behind because they want a massive amount of data to make recommendations. And most physicians kind of know that. But okay, so you have the colonoscopy guidelines for colon cancer. For women, mammography every year starting at age 40. For women, again, pap smears for cervical cancer. For men, PSA checks for prostate cancer. What's interesting is we found 4 cancers so far with patients that have low PSA levels. So
for prostate cancers.
For prostate cancers, yeah.
But their PSA, their prostate-specific antigen was normal.
Normal, yeah. And our technology for prostate is probably the best in the world, I think, because we really have refined that. But it's interesting because that tells me that PSA isn't really, if it's high, yes, we're worried. But if it's normal, we should still be worried. We should still check it because we found 4. That's a lot. It should be 0, right? So now we all know that PSA isn't end all be all and 100% accurate, but still, I didn't expect to find 4 biopsy proven, and a couple of them being very aggressive cancers with a normal PSA. So that's that piece. And then if you're a heavy smoker, I can't remember the number of pack. I think it's 20 pack years worth of smoking.
What's a 20 pack year?
So if you smoke a pack a day for a year, that's 1 year, one pack year. If you smoke 2 packs a day for a year, that's 2 pack years. And so I think it's 20. If you have above 20 pack years of smoking, you qualify to get yearly low dose lung CT screening for lung cancer. And that's it. That's the USPTF guidelines for cancer. So what about pancreatic cancer, which is a very deadly one? What about ovarian cancer, which is a very deadly one? Liver cancer, renal cancer, brain tumors, you got to catch those early or you're in trouble. And what about all the other conditions? Brain aneurysms, which we found a lot of over the last 10 months, those are deadly. They're silent killers. Heart disease, yes, there's markers for that, but fatty liver disease, there's not really a test for that. And if you catch it early, you can actually do things about it. You catch it later, it can lead to cirrhosis, and then it can lead to hepatocellular carcinoma. So these are all things that we can find early and do something about, but there's no good screening out there outside of this. So that's why we developed this, because there is no good screening for so many different diseases, and there needs to be, and this is the answer.
You guys are the first I've seen making this highly accessible. I mean, to me, and people may call me out of touch, $2,700 a year for what I got at that experience is an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have thought, to be honest with you, I thought it was $10,000, and I still would have been willing to pay that.
Yeah.
Because it's insane, the experience that you guys curate and the peace of mind. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but Jack got nervous when you were doing the cancer scan on me and you found that little mass in my liver, and I could feel him go, and I was like, well, this is going to be bad news. If this is going to be a really awkward way to start 4th of July, but it was just a small cyst in the liver, nothing to worry about. I'm just a cysty guy, apparently. I have cysts all over my body. I'm curious, when you found the prostate cancers, when you found early cancers, are you finding them in that setting that we were in?
Yep.
We're sitting on the screen,
always
yucking it up, and you go, hold on, I found something. How do you break that news? What do you do?
And we take turns being in clinic. So either I'm in clinic or like today, Dr. Sue is in clinic. Me and him take turns being in clinic. But we've both found cancer right on the spot. And, there hasn't been a time where I've not found it and he's found it or vice versa. We always find it. And then, the conversation, so if it's early stage, is easy because, hey, we found this. Thank God we found it early. I mean, it stinks to have cancer diagnosis, right? But if you think about it, if you didn't do this scan, you would have felt something a year from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, and it would have been too late. So we found it early. Let's get this taken care of. Let's cut it out. Another thing that we do that is unique is that if we find something and you don't have a network to take care of this, we'll make phone calls for you and get you plugged in.
Wow.
There was a patient that had stage 3 ovarian cancer. We made phone calls. She didn't have a good network, so we made phone calls for her to get biopsied that week. I think it was either the next day or the following day she got biopsied. The following Monday, she had debulking surgery and chemotherapy. You know how hard it is to get an appointment anywhere. We'll make those phone calls to make it as quick as possible. We have a very good network, and we say, look, this patient needs to be seen ASAP, and it happens. And so that's something we do for patients, no matter who they are, to help them get the care, because we found it, but we don't want to just let you go. We want to make sure you're taken care of. And we follow up with patients that we find things in and make sure they're doing okay, or just checking in on them to see how they're doing. So, but yeah, it's the advanced cancers are the tough conversations, because that's tough. And they'll ask you, are you sure this is cancer, or what does this mean? What are my percentages? Those are tough conversations. We say, look, let's get you plugged in, and let's give you the best fighting chance.
Wow.
Unfortunately, for the stage 4s, the chances aren't that great.
And you found those in these CoreViva scans?
Yep.
Wow. What's that like to handle that energy and have that conversation with somebody?
It's tough. I don't ever want to tell somebody they have cancer, even if it's early stage or late stage. I want to tell you that you're super healthy and let's keep living the best life. But it happens. It just statistically will happen. And so, yeah, we find those late stage cancers, and those are tough conversations. And I think every patient, deals with it a little bit differently, but obviously it's not great news, and there's probably a little bit of shock. When I open it, I say, oh shoot, this is, I don't say that out loud, but hey, this is cancer. But just my reaction is, oh man, I got to tell this person they have advanced cancer. Just imagine what their reaction is once they hear it. It's tough, and I feel sorry for them. But again, I'm going to treat every patient like your mother. So I'm going to do whatever I can for them to make sure that they have the best chance.
When you're, as a radiologist, when you look at a scan and you see a mass, do you know immediately, or do you have to look at it for a few moments?
It depends. I mean, sometimes you're like, okay, this is X, and sometimes you have to think about it for a second. But
You were able to quickly delineate that mine was just a cyst.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I've looked at, I don't know, my career, tens of thousands of scans, if not more, maybe 100,000. I don't know. I have to think about it. Maybe 100,000 scans over now. And so you just know pattern recognition. You just know what you're looking at. So most things are obvious to me. There are some things where, okay, this is cancer. I'm not quite sure if it's this kind of cancer or that kind of cancer. I'll think about it a little bit. Sometimes Dr. Sue and I will discuss cases if he has a question or I have a question, just to make sure. But usually if you know cancer versus not cancer, usually you know.
Have you been motivated or inspired or even practicing in the preemptive space for a while? Like when you were the physician for the Dodgers and the Lakers, were you doing this for them while you were with them?
No. Actually, I learned about this potential. We came up, a couple of the athletes were actually asking me about how can I check my whole body? And that's when I discussed it with one of my co-founders, Adam, who was my right-hand guy at McKinsey. And then Dr. Sue, who was at UCSF at the time. We just started discussing. And then eventually Adam and I said, look, this is something that we should build and do, because there's no good place to do full body preventative screening. And let's go do this the right way. And then Dr. Sue then joined us. He left UCSF and came to us.
And what year was that?
We started this in 23.
You were still with the Dodgers and the Lakers in 23?
No.
Okay.
Left them and then started this.
Okay, got it. And you've been building this from 23 to
20,
August of
25, yeah.
last year.
Took 2 years, yeah.
And how many scans have you done at CoreViva now?
Over 1,000. I don't know the exact number, but over 1,000, yeah.
Over 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I was blown away by the Instagram growth. Like 10,000 followers on
that's
Instagram
great.
as a preventative scanning company. So the buzz is growing, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you do things the right way and you're mission aligned and you just keep your eye on doing the right thing, I think things just naturally, happen. So
I couldn't agree more. Tony Robbins says focus on impact and economics, and everything tends to take care of itself.
Yeah.
You just do the right thing.
do the right thing.
And I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of people don't believe you can have success and fulfillment and still remain deeply ethically aligned. But
Oh, for sure. And success is a definition that I think you shouldn't worry about what people define as success. You should worry about what you define as success. So if success for me in this venture is to save 10,000 lives. That's all I care about. Success for somebody else may be, I want to win the World Cup. Success for another person might be, I want to become a billionaire. Success is defined for every person. I think you have to be true to yourself and just know, here's my goal, and make your goals achievable but stretch, right? So create a goal and go to the goal. Don't worry about what other. I think one of the biggest. This is actually interesting. When people pass away and they're asked, "What's your biggest regret?" or what's one lesson? I've heard this consistently, that I care too much about what other people think, and so.
I'm going to turn that into a cutscene like The Office after what you just said, because this is one of the pillars of what I talk about.
Good, because I think you shouldn't care. I mean, for so many years, at some point, everybody cares. I can remember the times in my life that I cared what people think. Then I stopped giving a crap. I said, okay, here's what I want to do in my life. I want to help people, and I want to do X, Y, and Z. And right now, I want to save 10,000 lives. And if somebody thinks poorly for some reason or doesn't, I could care less. I'm just aligned with what I want to do and where I want to go. And if you don't like the way I dress, you don't like the way I look, you don't like, who cares? I'm just concentrating on me and what I need to do. That's it. And if you care so much, it's a distraction. You don't need that.
Yeah, who cares? You're going to die one day.
Yeah.
Is it talking to people in stages of their lives that woke you up to that?
Well, I didn't talk to them. It was more I just read articles about this. I started not caring a while before I read this, but it was interesting because it reaffirmed my thought, because it's a distraction. And those people that, whatever you want to call them, trash talkers or whatever it may be, they're not going to be at your funeral, right? They don't care if something happens to you. So why do you care about them? So just care about yourself. And, when I say care about yourself, I also care about obviously your family and your loved ones and your friends. And if they're giving you feedback, it's probably coming from a good place. But do I care what John Doe thinks about something I did? No, I don't care. Why would I?
I couldn't agree more, man. I say to people, but they don't like when I say it sometimes, but I say that, I told you my dad passed away last year, January 19th of last year. Thank you. And it was a horrific experience, moving home, taking care of him. I think I told you his symptoms were adjacent to liver failure because of portal vein thrombosis that was just super severe, likely caused by, and I don't know how, but despite all the imaging we did, and this part, you're probably the guy to ask, but we don't have to get into it right now, but despite all the imaging we did over the last 7 months of his life and all the suffering he went through, it wasn't until about a week before he died that they said, well, we found some masses on his lymph nodes. And I'm like, he's been under 3 MRIs, 4 MRIs. How are you just seeing this? But he died last year, and caring for him and watched all the pain that he went through as a guy that I was incredibly close with. Yeah. It was the worst thing I've ever been through, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because being that close to death and being that intimate with it, with somebody that you care about, it teaches you the brevity of life. Yeah. And it makes me live so much more fully and on fire for the gift that is being alive, and not truly embracing and not wondering, what will they think of me if I do this? I don't care. I can't afford to care, because I know, God willing, if I'm lucky, and everybody listening to this is lucky, we go to sleep and we just don't wake up. Odds are that's not how we're going to die. We're going to get old. We're going to get weak. We're going to get sick. Our friends are going to die. Our kids are going to get busy. Our grandkids will stop calling and our body will fail. And it's funny, but this is true. And my dad's body failed, but his mind remained intact up until his last breath. And so he was, in his words, a prisoner in his own body. And I think when I get to the end of my life, I think often I do take care of myself and I care about my cognition. So if my body fails and my mind stays intact, I know one of the things I'll be doing is what he did, which is replaying the movie of my life over and over and over. And I genuinely am terrified of getting to the end of my life and looking at the decisions I didn't make because of other people and what they might think of me, which, by the way, they're not thinking of me.
Right.
They're too busy worried about the exact same thing I'm worried about.
Yeah.
And it's great to hear that from someone in a totally different field, in a totally different world and generation, that you're on a mission and you could not care less if people agree with it or disagree with it because this is the mission.
Yep.
I think that that's superpower.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think going back to just health and longevity, if you are worried about what people are saying and it eats away at you, and then it hurts you and it stresses you out and causes inflammation, can cause disease, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, it goes back to stress, the chronic worrying of even like people who become orthorexic and like obsess about their health to the point where they don't go outside and they avoid the sun at all costs. Like just crazy stuff can actually drive stress and inflammation in the body.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I think we said it in your podcast, sleep well, eat well, manage your stress.
Yeah.
If you can do those things, you'll be okay. And get a preemptive scan.
And exercise.
And
get a preemptive scan.
Yes. Yeah. And I told you that, like, I really wonder what we could have done if my dad had access or even we had awareness of what a preemptive scan could have done. Because by the time they found the portal vein thrombosis, the words of the radiologist were, your dad's portal vein is obliterated. I've never in my 25 years seen anything like this, and we have no idea what caused it. Good luck. And that was the day we found out he was going to die. They went in for a TIPS procedure, and they were like, there is no portal vein. It's gone. It's gone. Wow. And so I wonder, that clot, the doctors theorized this probably started happening 2 or 3 years ago. You know, I wonder if we got in there and done a scan in 2022, 2023, would we have found a mass on his lymph nodes? Would we have found this clot and made it operable?
Did they tell you what kind of cancer it was in the lymph nodes that they found?
No, that was the thing. So I haven't really gotten into detail about this on the pod, but I talk a lot about my dad's death and how it changed me. But all of his symptoms were adjacent to liver failure. He had ascites build up, so it got to the point where it was a weekly paracentesis draw of about 1 liter or 3 liters of fluid. Yeah. He had PVT. He had severe cachexia, like his liver was just attacking all of his muscles. So he was, by the time he died, you know, when he got sick, he was 6'2", 180. When he died, he was 6'2", 120.
Wow.
So he was completely cachexic. It was very, very jarring to look at. All of the symptoms were adjacent to liver failure. In the MRI they did in July of last year, his liver was sort of bumpy and cirrhotic. But when they went in to do the TIPS, they biopsied his liver and it looked okay.
Interesting.
And so this is where it gets confusing for me. I think he did 4 separate scans before we got to Emory Medical Center in Atlanta. And this wasn't until he couldn't get out of bed. And we called an ambulance. They took him to Emory. They did a scan, and all they said was, we found a mass on his lymph nodes, which lymphoma could drive this clotting disease that we don't know what he has. And they tested him for all the genetic clotting disorders, but they said, we will need to biopsy the mass. And at that point, that was 1 week before he died. He said, don't poke me, I'm done. I'm not getting out of this. I wouldn't survive treatment. He signed a DNR, and so we never got the test. So we really actually, and this eats at my mom, I've just accepted it, but we just never knew how he died. He just sort of got sick and wasted away. And I don't know if you have anything to weigh in on that, but I have no idea. And doctors were confused.
I mean, I think the one thing is that cancer is prothrombotic. So a lot of times when you see clots in weird places, you say, wait a minute, there's a cancer probably. Either, like you said, they're testing for some kind of genetic issue that can cause thrombosis, or there's a cancer hiding somewhere. That's usually the two reasons. And so, yeah, that would be my first thought if I saw that. I say, okay, there's cancer somewhere. Where is it?
If you see a clot and the liver's healthy, you'd be like, let's find cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they never got there. All the doctors were, one guy just said, your dad's a mystery to us. We don't know why this is happening, which is difficult to feel like you have no plan. And it was certainly an interesting experience to be a part of that, to interact with doctors. And I think we also, as human beings, we put doctors in this position of heroism and superiority, and they are, and you guys work your ass off to get to where you get, but we had these conversations and I realized you're just people, and you don't have answers. You don't have all the answers. And accepting that was difficult.
I wear a cape, but I can't fly.
I love that. I'm glad we went with the coat for the show. That's beautiful. But man, I really think it is incredible and important. And I want to use my dad as a living argument. Well, I use the term living loosely, as a real life argument for getting something like this done. Like there is a chance that someone like you could have found this in 2024 and said, this is cancer, let's attack this now. Yeah. And he wouldn't have died. Yeah. And I just can't drive that point home. I don't want people to go through what I went through, either in person or with somebody that they love.
You mentioned, and again, we made it's interesting because you mentioned price before. And we've had some patients that come in exactly like you said, you're charging too little. And I said, well, and then you have people that are saying, oh, this is too much, you're out of touch. But again, we're charging as little as we can to make sure that we can maintain our business and help people, but try to make it as accessible as possible to people. But yeah, one guy was like, you need to double your price. And I said, he was really arguing with me. He's like, you need to double. I'm okay. This is on a mission. I'm not trying to, win the lottery here. I'm trying to win the lottery of saving lives. That's what I'm really trying to do. But with that, when you're sick, well, actually, when you're healthy, you have like 10,000 wishes. You want to do this, that, this, that. When you're sick, you only have one wish. And so my goal is for people not to get to that point where they only have one wish. Let's find things before you're down to one wish, and let's get rid of it before you have to go through that pathway. And so I think that's really what people need to, if you told me some test was X amount of money and it's like just on the brink of what I can afford, I have to do something, but I can live longer and healthier for that, I'm going to do it. There's no question about it. That's why I pay for my mom and my wife to get this every year, because I want to find things early. And it's not just the cancer; it's also the other issues like musculoskeletal. We look deeply at every joint.
Yeah, we've talked only about cancer, but you were looking at everything inside of my body.
Yeah, and mobility equals longevity. Because you like data and statistics, I'll share this with you. For every 0.1 meter per second of increased gait speed, you have a decreased you have decreased risk of dying by 14%.
Can you explain it in layman's terms to somebody what that means?
Sure. So for 0.1 meter per second is like a very subtle increase in your speed. And so if you're just subtly increasing the amount that you can walk, the speed that you can walk, then you have less of a chance of dying. And so it's just that simple. And as we get older, we get slower. But if you can maintain that speed or even increase it, then you have a chance of living longer. And all that speed is linked to brain, cardiovascular, muscle strength, mobility. It's all kind of, it's a great snapshot of looking at how the whole body's functioning. Now, what's interesting is, so what decreases our gait, or what decreases our speed? Arthritis, joint issues, and muscle strength. And so that's something we look at deeply. We look at your muscle bulk. We look at your joints in detail. If we start seeing some early cartilage loss, we'll give you tips and tricks of how to fix that or how to maintain so you don't get to that arthritis stage. If you have arthritis, we'll tell you what you can do so you can stay mobile and stay strong. Our goal is to keep you mobile and strong as long as possible, because, like you said, cancer is the one piece, and then mobility is the second piece. Mobility equals longevity. Mm-hmm. So that's really critical, really, really, really critical.
And you found my cancer scan was fine and musculature was fine, but you actually found in me, an otherwise healthy 28-year-old male, you found some tendinopathy in my Achilles, mm-hmm. a slight bulging disc in, I think it was like L4, L5 mm-hmm. lumbar area, and then what you called tech neck in the C-spine area, mm-hmm. likely from me just looking down too much at my cell phone, like I definitely damn well do.
All of us do. Yeah.
All of us have
we're
that.
All guilty.
And you could see on the scan, like these are some things that are super minor, not to worry, but preventative. You gave me preventative exercises for my neck, doing the Roman chair for my low back, and just strengthening the muscles around the quads and hamstrings and surrounds the tibialis for my knee degeneration, probably a byproduct of marathoning. And you gave me real practical protocols to run alongside that, when I'm 50, if I didn't know about those and I kept running like I was, those could be debilitating. A bulging disc could be debilitating. Yeah. But now you found it when it's sort of a non-issue.
Right, and you can do something to correct it or keep it at bay, and that's the goal, right? Like you said, you don't want to be 50 and debilitated. You want to be 50 and strong and keep going. I mean, mm-hmm. You've only hit the midway mark at 50, hopefully. And so you still want to be as active as possible.
Man, I haven't figured out a way to drive this argument home with people, but for me, it's not about training to look good. I like being jacked. I like being muscular. I like feeling good about my body. And that was what I was chasing for a while. But people need to understand the gym is not a hobby, it's hygiene, and you're not training for big biceps and a six pack. You're training to be able to get up off the couch, to get up off the ground.
Yeah.
If you fall, to pick your child up overhead. And like, I've seen what it looks like. I had to take my dad off the couch. I had to pull him out of the bathroom. I had to pull him out of bed because his musculature was gone.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. And I don't think people realize the impact. I mean, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon calls muscle the organ of longevity. It is, I think the survivability of all cancers across the board goes up by 20% if you have a high level of lean tissue in your body, because cancer just attacks your body, attacks your musculature. And I want people to understand that that's what we're training for. We're not training for looks. We're not training for vanity. You are training to have a body that carries you through life and does not fail on you. Because like you said, you can have a laundry list of problems until you have a health problem. And then there's just one problem.
Yep.
And I know that to be true. I mean, dude, I got strep throat last week and I was like, fuck, I can't think about anything else.
I know.
Just make me well.
I know.
And I can't imagine, when I think about my dad's experience and I think about people who are truly, truly sick, how deeply you would give anything to go back and do that workout that you put off, to put the drink down or the smoke down and make the right choice. And you're helping people do that before it's too late. And I think it's incredibly powerful.
Thanks. Yeah, and to your point, you just got to make it part of your life. It's a lifestyle. It's not a. But I understand, because it's hard. When I was in my 20s, I wanted, and I was a lot bigger and more muscular, and I just wanted to look good. That was my goal, to just look good. Even, I'll show you a picture later, but even like 10 years ago, I was much more muscular. But it's I think it's just ingrained in men to like, we want to be. I saw it actually, a really funny comic that my friend showed me, where on the first picture, it's showing a muscular guy and like he's flexing in the mirror, and in his mind he's imagining all these girls in bikinis swooning over him. And the next image, it shows reality where all these guys are swooning, dudes at the gym swooning over him. And it's so true.
It's so true. It's so true, man.
And I think and I'll just admit it, as I got older and more mature, I realized, okay, I need to be strong and fit for function and for longevity, not for look. I mean, yeah, you'll look good if you're healthy. You'll look good, so that comes with it. But it's not the main driver anymore. How you get a single 20-something-year-old to believe that, I don't know, it's tough, because their thought process is, as was my thought process, is I want to look strong because I want to attract somebody that, it's just the mindset.
Yeah.
And frankly, when I met my wife, I was I was much more muscular than I am now.
You're still pretty yacked. I can see the delts through the jacket.
Thanks, but I'll show you a picture later. I mean, it was different. But she's never said, "Oh my God, you're not as jacked as you used to be." One time she made a comment that she said, "Your arms were definitely bigger when I first met you," and that was over a decade ago. But and I said, "Does that bother you?" She goes, "Not at all." She said, "No, it's just interesting that how life changes and that kind of thing." And so, yeah, I don't think that's, people like people because of people, because of who you are, and not because of, sure, looks matter, but to a certain point. Yeah, so I like what you're saying. I think, but I do appreciate that it's hard to, because I would have never listened to you when I was 20-something, right?
No, I wouldn't have listened to me 5-6 years ago. But if you chase health, the aesthetics follow.
Yeah, and I think, exactly. And I think you almost have to go through something to really appreciate these finer points in life. You really, I think, we've all, I think trauma can shape you and make you stronger, make you more resilient, and really make you appreciate the foundations of what life is all about. And I think a lot of people, probably most people up to their 20s, haven't experienced that kind of trauma to really wake them up. And so I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, my favorite scripture in the Bible, James 1:24, count it all joy when you face trials of many kinds. There's more to that verse, but count it all joy when you face trials. It does make you appreciate, makes me appreciate the brevity of life, the preciousness of life. Yeah. Grief was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'm beyond thankful for that. When it comes to, I wanted to ask you about this earlier, and I want to make sure we covered. It's a bit of a shift, but
sure.
When we were talking about fasting, because this is something I used to talk about a lot on my platform, and I haven't in a while. So
why do they call it fasting when it goes so slow?
It takes forever. Why do they call it fasting when it takes forever? Yeah. Speaking of forever, intermittent fasting we covered.
Yep.
Time restricted feeding. What about prolonged fasting? Is there data on 24, 36, and beyond hours as it pertains to longevity?
It's interesting because I don't think there's no large study that I've seen that covers this. I think I've seen some anecdotal things. I've had friends who are physicians that have tried it and said that they feel amazing after doing it, like a water only fast for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to look honestly, I'd have to look more into it. It's not something that currently appeals to me because of just my situation. For example, like I have a family of kids. If they're eating all the time, it would drive me crazy. It would be, unless I go somewhere far and can kind of hide.
Yes.
Then I could do it, but it's hard just the environment that I'm in to be able to pull that off. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I read the theory behind why that could work, and again, activating autophagy. And some people said like if you look at the caveman times, they'd get food, they'd eat, and then they might be a couple of days without eating. But the caveman didn't live to over 100 years either. So. Yeah. You know, what's it really doing? Is it really helping you? I don't know. Your body needs energy. It needs energy to think. It needs energy to function. It's just a question of how much energy. So if you're starving it from energy for a few days, is that healthy? My hypothesis would be no. But maybe I'm missing on something. So I don't know. I'd have to see what the data looks like.
I mean, we have stored energy on our body, thousands of calories of it, but that's not the preferred method of efficiency when it comes to lipolysis for energy. Is not what our body wants to do. It's an emergency situation.
Right.
I will say I do multiple long fasts a year.
How long have you gone?
The longest I've done is just shy of 3 days.
It's pretty good.
Bunch of my friends.
Water?
Water.
Okay.
Yeah, water. And day one, I'll probably have a black coffee in the morning.
Okay.
And then after that, water and electrolytes.
Okay.
Sparkling water as well, because if you're very hungry, that the CO2 can help sort of fill the stomach up. But I will say I feel better. It makes sense theoretically to me. This is all anecdote. There's no research to back what I'm saying, but it makes sense to me that we give so many parts of our body a break, especially as athletes. We recover from training, we sleep.
Yep.
Our digestion like never really gets a prolonged break. I've taken a week off the gym multiple times, taken a month off running, but I've never really taken more than a couple days off eating. And I was like, what? Oh yeah, I guess that does kind of theoretically make sense that I could give my digestive system a break per se. And I do feel the ketosis kicks in. Obviously you feel the energy at like day 2 or hour 36. I feel a couple of things I notice personally is number one, I just think it's a powerful practice. I mean, fasting is one of the oldest spiritual practices in the world. Mm-hmm. I think there's power in just abstaining from things and that's understanding, true. Commanding the mind. Yes. Like I'm in control. I am the driver, denying the flesh of pleasures for a little bit, fasting from social media, fasting from food, different forms of fasting. Yeah. So I appreciate the willpower and confidence in myself that it gives me. And just doing hard things is important. I believe that confidence is evidence-based, and that's evidence that I can do hard things. Yeah. I will say my digestion feels a little better as a guy who had gut health issues, like pretty severely for a while. I feel less bloated after meals. I also think that that's correlative with after a fast, and this is, I think, one of the most powerful takeaways for me. I believe most people have never experienced true hunger. They've experienced cravings. They eat every few hours for their entire life. When you fast for 3 days, steamed broccoli with nothing on it sounds remarkable. And that's that true hunger sort of, it's what we were talking about earlier, like recalibrates my taste buds. Yeah. And after a long fast, I crave nutrient-dense whole foods. Like I want meat, I want vegetables, I want potatoes. I don't want all the bullshit because I know how it's going to make me feel. Yeah. So it's been a powerful experience for me.
That's interesting. It might just be worth it just for that.
Yeah.
Right? Just to get people to reset and appreciate good, clean foods as opposed to nasty processed.
Totally. Like a expedited detox, which I hate that. I hate that word. What? I get questions all the time. What should I take to detox? I'm like, you have a liver.
What are you talking about?
You have a built-in detoxifier.
That's right.
Well, Doc,
that's what I mean, man. You're wise beyond your years. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The last 2 years have felt like 5 in terms of life experience, but I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Hopefully, it's extended your life Hopefully, it's extended your life expectancy by 5 years.
Let's hope so.
Or more.
Let's hope so. It's certainly allowed me to endure and take on more life experience that has given me more happiness and joy and fulfillment than I ever thought possible, and has afforded me the opportunity to sit down with people like you. And I'm grateful for that. This has been a wealth of knowledge. Thanks. And I know what your time is worth, so I appreciate it.
It's fine.
As we close things out here, I typically, the goal of the show has always been the same. And when I started the social medias, I couldn't think of what to put in my bio, and it just came back to one sentence: sharing easily implementable ways to improve your life.
I love that.
So where you sit today, if someone out here listening doesn't know where to start, maybe they're not even ready to come get scanned, what are the things you would have them start doing tomorrow that are low to no cost that they can implement immediately to make their lives better?
Going back to those 4 pillars of longevity. So if they're not ready for a scan, I would at least follow us on socials, because I always give medical tips on the socials. I give the team tips to put. I don't actually have social media. I don't even know how to use it, but I don't.
You don't have an Instagram or anything?
Nothing.
Incredible.
I envy you. I don't have time. And people are like, "Oh, you're not on LinkedIn." I'm linked out. I got too many things going on, right? It's I don't need another distraction. So now for some people it's good. It's educational. And you should see this article. And if I had time, I would. I just don't have the time. And going back to, I don't want to sacrifice my sleep. So, and that's number one. I don't want to sacrifice my sleep, so I just don't have the time, because it's either work, reading scans, talking to patients, family, and then bedtime. And so there's no time in that to do that. I get hundreds of emails a day that I need to respond to also, so that I have to find time for that. It doesn't fit my schedule. Maybe one day, maybe when I'm retired, I'll get on the socials to see what's going on out there. But for the time being, I just let the team tell me what's happening in these world events, because I have no clue. So sleep is a really important piece, and you could do that. That doesn't cost you anything. Just make sure you're getting your 7-8 hours of sleep, and make sure you follow the 3-2-1 rule. Again, 3 hours before sleep, no food. 2 hours before sleep, no fluids. 1 hour before sleep, no screen time. And we didn't touch upon the fluids, so I'll say that real quick. If you drink fluids 2 hours before sleep, it takes your kidney and bladder a couple hours to process fluids. Inevitably, if you do it within that time before you sleep, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night to go pee. And so that's disrupting your sleep. If you don't wake up but your bladder's full, you might come out of a deep sleep because your bladder's full. So do all that at least a couple hours before sleep, so you can get it out of your system and have a restful night. So the sleep is the first thing. The second thing is to just work out, just exercise. Whether you want to start with 10 minutes walking a day, just do something. Do something that's super easy and just build that up. Everybody can walk 5 to 10 minutes a day, and then build it up to maybe next week is 15 or 20, or you change that 10 minutes into walking into sprinting. There's something you can do, and everybody has 10 minutes. So start there, and you'll feel so good after doing it for a few weeks that it'll just become a habit. It'll become part of your lifestyle. So exercise is the next one. Eating clean, like you said, comes from a mom and dad, grows in the ground or on a tree. Is that what it is?
Grew in the ground, grew on a tree, or had a mom and dad.
Had a mom and dad, yeah. That. I love that. So grew in the ground, grew on a tree, or had a mom and dad. I love that. Yeah. So eat those kind of foods. Eat clean. Reduce the saturated fats. Reduce the sugars. Sugar is very, very bad. Cancer loves sugar. Cancer loves sugar.
It feeds on it, yes?
It feeds on it. So don't give it what it wants, and so then you'll be healthy. So reduce that. And then the fourth thing, like I said, preventative screening. Again, if you're not ready for that, tracking some data initially just to kind of know where you are. And again, the cheapest way is just just write down your calories or write down your exercise, keep a journal. I still journal every day. Not my activities of working out stuff, but just more from a mindfulness perspective, but just keep track of things, and that helps you too. There's easy ways to kind of see how your progress is going. And you can look back and say, wow, on day one, I was just walking 10 minutes a day. Now I'm, running a marathon or something like that. It's just really cool to go back and look at what you've accomplished over time. It gives you a sense of positive reaffirmation, which is really important.
Totally.
And then the last thing, like I said, preventative screening is important, but in the meantime, just follow us on social so you can get health tips. That's free. Just take our tips down and live a better life. And so on Instagram, we're core_viva, CORE_VIVA, and on all the other socials, we're just core viva. So I think there's free information out there that we provide. Might as well take advantage of it.
Absolutely. I'll link your socials and everything they need to come and find you in the episode description.
Thanks.
But Dr. Alexander, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
This was a wealth of knowledge and information. I appreciate you. And if you're in the Newport area, close by, or willing to travel, go get a preemptive scan done. I cannot urge you enough. I appreciate you, Doc.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.